Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump and today I'll be doing my top 5 favourite unique boss fights in video games. Now, in video games there are a whole lot of boss fights. A lot of them are mainly there to progress the story, whether that's they're guarding a specific item or they're there to get in the main character's way, that sort of thing. But when it comes to outside of the story, there are several bosses that you get to fight in some games, and some of them are vastly different than others. And this video just be me going over some of my favourites that you can fight in various games. So for number 5 is Cynthia from Black and White and Black and White 2. And I would say that with Cynthia, she is, in terms of the champions, she's one of the most memorable champions in the Pokemon series, and it is a surprise to see her in one of I think one of the towns in the post game of Black and White and Black and White 2, because she's in this sort of um, beachside town, and she's in one of these um, houses that I think she owns. I think she owns one of them, and yeah, it's a surprise to see her. And I think in Black and White and in Black and White Two, she has a sort of mixed team. But I think Black and White Two has more of a normal team. But I think she's a Glaceon in there. I think, and in Black and White Two, I think one of the Pokemon's a Braviary. I think I'm not 100% sure, but in terms of champions, she's still pretty tough, and she still has like her Garchomp, which is still pretty powerful. And yeah, it's one of those unique battles that's like you don't really normally expect in a game, but it's like it's there, and I think if you do beat her, you can battle her again once a year. Like I think during the summer or something. So yeah, for number 4 are the Battle Taloses from Tears of the Kingdom. Now with this fight, I do enjoy uh, the what I like about them is how they're different from regular Telos's, whether that's the plain looking ones, the luminous ones, or the elemental ones. And that being is that they're Stone Telos, but they have um, an enemy camp on top of them, and that's really cool because that's something you don't normally see in games from what I know, in the sense that two enemy types, two very very different enemy types, sort of like combining together to make one new form of enemy. And the Battle Talos is an interesting fight to do because not only do you have to fight the Stone Talos, but also get rid of all of the goblins that's on the Stone Talos as well. And I do enjoy that fight, and again, it's like I do what I like about the fight is that you can't climb the normal way on a on a Battle Talos than you would normally any of the other Taloses. So you might have to use like ascend or use um, a fused item on your shield, like a remote bomb or a rocket or something like that, or use ascend. And yeah, and it brings a whole new fourth of battles to the game. So yeah, for number 3 are the Velvet Room Attendants. Now these fights I think started back in Persona 3 and then became more in the other games. And yeah, these fights are really fun. I think I think what makes what makes each of these fights interesting is that you have to unlock them, and you can only unlock them in New Game Plus, which I think is a good idea because you don't if you did have the chance to fight them at the start of the game, you probably wouldn't want to fight them because you would have had very very weak very weak personas, and your team would be severely underleveled. And when it comes to these fights, the Velvet Room Attendants all use the compendiums, or these the compendiums that you can get in each game, and that's something really interesting and really unique, and something that you don't really see normally in video games, where you might see a boss or an enemy that's using the exact same move set or something similar to you. The only ones that I can think of is probably Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom, where he has the Flurry Rush, where he can Flurry Rush or Flurry Rush, and Dark Link in the various Zelda games that he appears in, where he has the exact same move sets and items as you. And yeah, that's something really cool. And with the Velvet Room attendants, they all have different personas, and some are weak, but they use strong items or strong abilities or moves. Like that, I think some of them use like a pixie, let's say, and it uses like a full-on heal and stuff like that. And they might have Lucifer or something, and it uses a super powerful move and stuff like that. So yeah, the Velvet Room attendants are really fun to fight. For number 2 are the Gleeoks from Tears of the Kingdom. Now, in terms of roaming bosses in that game, I would say that the Gleeoks are probably the hardest ones to defeat. I think two of the reasons for that is where they are positioned, and also the different, mainly because of the different moves that they use. And yeah, I think what I like about them is that each one is different in terms of there's various ones. It's kind of similar to the Teloses, in the sense that you've got your basic one, you've got a fire one, you've got an ice one, you've got one that has a luminous stone, you've got one that has rare a rare ore deposit, that sort of thing. And it's similar with the Gleeoks, where there's 4 variants, each having a different elemental head. So you've got the fire Gleeoks, you've got the lightning Gleeoks, you've got the ice Gleeoks, and then you've got the king Gleeoks, which is a head of every other element of the other Gleeoks. And yeah, they're very hard to fight, and I do like where they are. Like, you can find, I think, 4 or 5 of them in the sky, a few of them scattered around Tyrell, and then one in the depths. And they're so cool to fight, and it feels so satisfying when you finally defeat one, because it's kind of like a sort of like David and Goliath sort of thing, where you're up against this very intimidating, strong looking enemy, and it feels really cool, and it basically feels cool when you finally fight one. Well, when you defeat one. And I do like how when it comes to the elemental ones, the temperature changes or the weather changes. So I think if you fight a lightning one, there'll be lightning storms and stuff like that. If you fight a flame one, it'll get hotter and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very cool to fight one, and I think the Gleeoks are probably some of the best overworld bosses in a Zelda game. So yeah. And for number 1 are the Valkyries from God of War 2018. Now, with these fights, they are probably the hardest fights in the God of War 2018 game as a whole. And what I like about these fights is that you can find them in the different realms that you travel to, excluding the final one, which I won't spoil, in case anyone hasn't played the game yet, even though it's quite old at this point. It's about 8 years, or I think almost 8 years, I would say, ish, because it came out in 2018. No, actually, no, not 8 years, 6 years. 6 years, I can't count. And what I like about the Valkyries is that they, as I said before, they can be found in different realms. And I do like how some of the ways you try and get to them. So for some of them, I would say in the Midgard and Alfheim ones, and I think also the Helheim ones, you can go and find this sort of like magical locked up door, which you can use the chisel that you got from the giant to open. Then you've got the Muspelheim and Niflheim ones, in which there and these specific locations they have to get to go to. So for the Muspelheim ones, for one, you have to like do all these different trials before you can even get to the Valkyrie. Well, with the Niflheim one, you have to basically go along this specific path, and but before the curse of Niflheim takes you. And for the Niflheim one, I would probably suggest getting the Niflheim armor set so that it'll take longer to be affected by the curse, and also open as many chests as you can to get to the Valkyrie and have enough time to get back and not be affected by the curse. So yeah, and when you do get to fight all the Valkyries, you then get to fight the Valkyrie Queen, which is the hardest fight in the game, and it's again no easy feat. It's one of those fights that will take you a long time to practice and try and get an understanding of how she works, because the Valkyrie Queen has every other moveset from all the other Valkyries, and she's very, very hard to fight. But again, like with the Gleeorks, it's satisfying when you defeated the Valkyrie Queen, because it's a really tough fight. And yeah, and I always remember when I always fought her, I'd always have like the Valkyrie armor on, and I would try and have it upgraded as much as possible before I fought her, just so I could have a chance of fighting her. So yeah, so the Valkyries as a whole from the God of War 2018 game, it's a really fun. I really want to fight, really fun fights, and they're really enjoyable. So yeah, so that's been my top 5 favorite unique boss fights. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.